Alright, you're welcome to yet another video, and in this video I'm going to teach you the fundamentals of graphic design. But before we dive into the video, you're welcome, in case this is your first time on this channel, you're welcome to Scale Up by OT. This is a program where we empower a young graphic designer with all the necessary requirements or all the necessary skills to start out, because when we're starting out, we just started out roughly and it was very rough along the line. So you're welcome to this program. Now on this program, we're teaching you a lot of things as regarding graphics, beginning from for both your smartphone and then of course your laptop or your desktop. So if you are here to learn, you want to stay glued until we get to the end of this program. Okay, so this program is supposed to run for 30 days and it started already, and then we are moving on. So for today I will be teaching you the fundamentals of graphics design. What are the things or the basics that you are supposed to know as a graphic designer whilst you are starting out? Okay, so without further ado, let's get right into the slides and let's check out what I have for you. Number one, I have composition. Okay, so composition refers to the arrangement of visual elements in your design. Now when we talk about visual element, we're talking about the fonts, we're talking about the shapes, we're talking about the images that you have on your design. Okay, so the arrangement of those elements is what we have of composition. It involves the placement and balance of and the organization of each of those elements to give you a perfect and a pleasing, effective design. All right, so for every design you're going to do and it's going to come out clean, you need to follow these steps properly. You need to understand what it means to arrange each of your elements properly, such that you are able to arrive at a beautiful design. Let's move on to the next. We have color theory. You want to understand the essentials of color to graphic design. You want to understand the essentials of color to graphics design, because your ability to learn the harmonies of colors, how colors relate with each other, would certainly give you an edge to be able to produce a good design that spells a particular emotion depending on what you're designing for. For instance, if you're designing for children, you know that children love something flashy, so you want to put in as many relatable colors as possible, but not such that it looks too off. All right, then if you're designing something around passion, you know that color is the red to go for. If you're designing something around love and all of that, you also know that red or blue is something you want to go for. If you're designing logos and you're representing a brand, so you want to research on color theory such enough so that you're able to implement each of it, so that it represents your organization properly. Now for every design you do, you have to be sure of the colors that you're putting together, such that your design is not repelling to the people viewing it. Now moving on to the next, we have typography. But before I explain on typography, I have four requests I want to ask of you. First is, please, if you're new to this channel, do well to hit the subscription button and subscribe to our channel. Then if number two is that I want you to give us a thumbs up if you're finding value here already, and give us a thumbs up by liking this video so that YouTube can recommend this video to others. And as well, you want to do well to leave your questions or comments down in the comment section below. Then finally, I want you to share this video with other beginners so that they can learn this and as well do better in their design journey. All right, let's move on to the just before we move on to the next, pardon me, let's explain what typography is. All right, you might have seen or read what I have on my screen, but just a few additions to what I have on my screen. Typography basically talks about the fonts that you use on your design. Now when we say typeface, over here you can see what we can see typeface, right? Now when we say typeface, we mean the kind of fonts, the font style that you are using or representing on your design. We have many kinds of fonts. We have the scripted fonts, we have the serif fonts and their family and the rest. So you want to be sure of the kind of fonts that you are using, because fonts as well also interpret and evoke emotion. So you want to be sure of the kind of fonts that you are using for your design. Is that okay? Let's move on to the next item. The next item we have here is contrast. Contrast. All right, contrast is basically the difference between elements in your design, the difference that you have been able to communicate within elements in your design that could either appear as hierarchy or visual interest and all of that. For instance, in some designs you'll see that some particular font or a particular part of the design is giving more attention. All right, so your ability to put all of these things together is what you are able to call contrast. All right, so your shapes, your text and all of that needs to be hierarchically arranged so that you have a good design in the outrun. You can either emphasize on a particular item on your design by either giving it more attention with color or with shape or with a kind of tweaking customization on either of it. All right, so having said that, let's continue on to the next. The next is what we have as white space or negative space. Now let me share this with you. When I started out, I did not really understand what was meant by white spacing. I just module up everything together and then I end up with a very ugly looking design and all of that. And I'm sure that many beginners also have a struggle with this. So white spacing, what is it basically? It is the spaces that you have in between the elements in your design. If you notice, I've been talking of elements in your design. Elements are those things, shapes, text, images and every other thing that you have on your design, including the background. All right, including the background. Now, so white space is your ability to create breathing space for each of your elements so that they can interact and coexist together, such that you are not coming up with a modeled up design and somebody is trying to figure out what you're trying to communicate. Let your design be arranged hierarchically such that you people are able to say, oh, okay, so I can differentiate this from this. Like for instance, if you look at my screen, you'll see that I have white space, the text here, white space, then I have space here. And if you look around this design, you'll see where I have some spaces. Okay, then before the logo here, there's also a space. So there's attention on white space, and then there is this text here that defines white space, and we have the logo here. And of course, if you look up here, you would see Uti Visual Network. All right, and I gave an attention to this Uti Visual Network by separating it from every other thing that we have here. All right, so that being said, you need to understand that negative space is very important for your design so that you don't leave people confused and trying to figure out what you're trying to communicate on your design. If you're getting value already, don't forget to give us a thumbs up by liking this video and subscribe to our channel, and then we can have more visibility on YouTube. Thank you for doing that in advance. Let's move on to the next. All right, the next thing we have is visual hierarchy. This cannot be under talked about and it cannot be overemphasized. All right, it involves using of sizes, colors, contrast and placement, all right, to create a clear order of importance. Whenever you hear the word hierarchy, you want to understand that we are talking about order of importance. So you want to be sure of the first thing you want people to see. For instance, the moment you click on this page, or the moment I came up here, right, as I came to this particular slide, the first thing I'm sure you want to notice is visual hierarchy. Why? Because I gave it more attention by making it bigger than every other thing on the screen, and I gave it a color that stands out from every other colors. All right, so you want to ensure that you are able to give either color or size or contrast such that it is orderly arranged and somebody can know the most important thing that you're trying to talk about. For instance, if you're designing a flyer for a church program or for a birthday party, all right, you might want to pronounce happy birthday bigger than any other element apart from the celebrant's image. All right, or you might want to project the celebrant's image more than every other thing. As well as if you're going to design a flyer for a church program or for any religious setting, you want to ensure that you put out the theme or the title of that program and make it either customize it, give it some kind of color that stands out from every other thing, so that people are aware of the most important message that you are trying to communicate. Your viewers want to understand exactly what you're trying to talk about. So without having to overemphasize this, we'll just move on to the next. If you have a question at any point of this video, you want to leave it in the comment section, and if you want me to do a proper or a full detailed explanation on either of the items that I've mentioned so far, you can leave me a comment in the section down below and I will do justice to your request. And then before I continue, I want you to understand that this video is the part 1. I'm going to do a follow-up video on this particular subject, which is going to be a practical video. So I will practicalize everything I have said so far in that video to show you. So you want to subscribe so that when I drop that video, you would be notified by YouTube. Let's move on to the next slide. All right, the next slide we have is grid system. Grid system is those boxes that looks like mat. Now you can create those boxes that looks like mat and have it on your design template so that you are able to place each element, organizing it properly. It's more like a framework that helps you balance a visual pleasing layout. Now if you're taking a picture with your smartphone, there's a kind of setting that you can have on your smartphone and it brings out that grid lines. Grid lines are boxes with little, it's more like a major box with little boxes in between that helps you put each of the elements in where they are supposed to be. So you want to ensure that you keep track with this, and then you are able to come up with a good combination of columns, rows, and other elements that gives a balanced visual placing layout. All right, let's move on to the next, which will basically be the last thing that we will talk about in this video. Okay, so and that is mastering image editing softwares. You cannot do without learning how to work on some images that you're going to use for your designs. For instance, your background, the background you're going to use for your design might need a little tweak, so you need understanding of some softwares. We have a lot of them, and I highlighted some of them here because this is what we're dealing with in this training, which is Adobe Photoshop. We have CorelDRAW and Pixel Lab. All right, we also have Canva, we have Adobe Illustrator. All right, so you can use either of these to manipulate images whilst you are designing. So you want to be sure that you master this design software. You might not necessarily need to be master of all of the tools. Just be sure that you familiarize yourself with the basic tools that you need to tweak some images, because you are definitely going to need images along your journey as you design. So like I said earlier, please do well to hit on the subscription button, and then you would do well to recommend us to others by sharing this video with your friends and your network so that they can as well learn. Don't forget to leave us a comment down below. If you have any question, I will be so and more than glad to attend to your question. Thank you for staying to the end of this video, and I will see you in the part 2 of this video and in other videos that you would come across on our channel. Thank you. See you in the next video.